Started, and I'd like to welcome everyone. And I love teaching this course because really what I do is I relive, a lot of the corporate experiences that I had throughout the years. So I bring a fair amount of corporate experience to this topic or this course, and I'll share with you a couple of stories. And by any means, if you have any kind of questions, go ahead and ask me. It doesn't matter if they're not course related. They might be management related. They may be just requiring information about business. I'm happy to answer just about anything. Okay. So we're going to get started. So I'm recording right now. I'm sharing my the topic commentary, and I'll be telling you how important these topic commentaries are, during the course, the duration of the course. And the thing is that I want to let you know that sometimes I get unmuted for some reason. And if you see what I'm looking at right now, when I'm looking at this screen, I'm working out of two screens. So when I'm looking at this screen, it means I'm looking at participants and I'm looking at the chat, and I'm getting a sense of where I am in terms of the number of slides. When I'm looking this way, I'm actually looking at the slide presentation I'm talking to. So some reasons, and especially when we come out of any kind of breakout, the the actual plenary session when we come out is unmuted. Is muted, and you can't hear me, and I'll start talking right away. So if you see that I'm talking and you can't see anything that I'm not sharing, or you can't hear me, please unmute and let me know immediately. I really appreciate it. Okay, so just where we are in this one. Another thing to know about this course, it is jam-packed. There's a lot of information, and there's a lot of work to do, and we're on a short session. You really have to pace yourself. And what I'm going to show you, especially in this topic one, is how I'm going to help you kind of guide you through all this material, because there's just so much of that material. And I'll talk about this right away. There's a lot of participation activities. And guess what? There's not very many marks allocated to those participation activities. But the key is that they're building blocks. They're going to allow you to really understand the requirements of the assignments and understand what's possible in terms of questions in the tests. So that the more that you put into these particular participation activities, and save your information, by the way, the more you're going to be able to use that information inside the assignments and get better marks. And also understanding the concepts while you're doing that is going to allow you to answer these test questions much better. All right, so that's really, really key. And then I'll talk about this course is associated, with the management principles course and the Pearson Revel surveys and the Pearson Revel platform. And you're going to be doing, 30 plus surveys. And what I'll tell you about those surveys is, and I'm going to talk about this a lot, is allow you to get a sense of who you are in terms of a baseline or where you need to develop from. And I'll tell you, like in my experience, I did a fair amount of these types of surveys, but they were when I was getting assessed as a manager to move up the ladder. And these surveys, if they're done by consultants, translate into thousands of dollars. So what I'm recommending is that not only do you fill out these surveys and really get a sense of who you are, but save all your information even after the course, because you may want to go back to those surveys. And the thing is, all they are is they're basically a status of a part in time, right? In a moment in time, so that you can change. But if you know that you've started from this baseline and you know where you're heading, well, then it'll really give you a sense of, hey, I'm really getting to where I want to be as a manager and as a person. And that will increase the capabilities of having more passion to do what you're doing. So there's a lot of benefits in this course. I know it's going to be a lot of work. There's a fair amount of reading, but again, I'm going to try to guide you as best as I can so that I can minimize the amount of material that you have to see and go through, and really give you a sense of what to get ready for in terms of the tests. And I'll be talking a lot about that in the slides. So just before I get started, then, does anybody want to unmute and ask me any kind of question? We're okay? All right, so here's the part where I ask for emoticons. Can you give me a thumbs up? Are you ready to get going? All right, are you ready to get going? Okay, great. Thank you, Aaron. Okay, thanks, Nicole. That's good. So we'll get started. So what I've done is that there are 13 topics in this course, and you're going to be tested on 1 to 12. You're not going to be tested on topic 13, but the whole idea about topic 13 is to get you ready so that when you leave this program, you really have a sense of what's going on. And the biggest issues that are coming up, and it's inevitable, and you could see it in the news today. You can see it, in the applications that you're seeing in terms of Chat GPT and Copilot, that Microsoft has put out. And the thing is that artificial intelligence is going to make up a big part of your work issues and work center. All right. And the thing about that is that we're going to take you through an evolution of management principles. And really what the management principles adopt to are the changes in the economies, are the changes in the evolution of business, in the evolution of the world, in terms of the world becoming one great trading place. And if you understand the history of those management principles and understand how each element of a management principle has evolved, then you'll really get a sense of how that came about, and you'll have a baseline and some information to be able to deal with the new management principles that have to come and adjust to all the issues and the challenges that artificial intelligence and robotics and machine learning and all those things that are going to be in your business lifetime, which, in my business lifetime, Google was the big deal and the internet was the big deal. Now, this is Google and internet on steroids when it comes to the actual acceleration of learning and the acceleration of change in terms of how you're going to do business. So strap yourself in, and I'm going to be talking about that a lot. And really, that's where we're going in chapter 13 to get you ready. And we have an artificial intelligence type assignment in the guise of a development plan, for a college student leaving the college and how to get ready for it. And that's in assignment 3. And oh, by the way, I'm going to talk about assignment 1, and there's one question in assignment 3 that you need to answer in the survey, which is in assignment 1, but I'll be talking about that. Okay, so let's get started. So again, we're going to start topic 1, and just so you know that the first test is going to be about topic 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the second test is going to be about topics 5, 6, 7, 8, and the third test, which is going to be held during examination week, is going to cover 9, 10, 11, 12, right? Just so you know that where that's coming from. So let's talk about these topics. So right now this is being recorded, and I have an RDP YouTube channel that I store these on, so that as this particular webinar is ready and it's taped, then I will put it, I will upload it to the YouTube channel, and then I will send you the link on Blackboard so that you know what's going on. And so if you've missed anything, if you can't make these webinars in person, which I recommend that you do as much as you possibly can, because you can ask me all kinds of questions and we can share a lot more information on what you need to do in person and back and forth. But again, the video is there to go through, and you can email me anytime to set up a video conference to be able to discuss anything about the course. And we're going to be working in groups as well, and you can do a group session with me as well. So that's where that is. So you can see in the second paragraph here on the sharing, I recommend you attend these webinars, but they'll be really important to be able to be at in person, so that you'll get a lot more clarification. You can ask me questions, and again, because there's so many slides, what I have is sort of a way to show you what's important in the slides. And again, you can stop me right there and say, okay, well, what is it about this slide? What is it about this concept? But other than that, I'm going to show you how to kind of work through and give you a path or a blueprint to be able to get through all this information in this course. All right. So what I want to say about the participation activities, again, they are building blocks, and they're very important to gain insights in how to complete the course assignments and how to do well on the tests. So the fact that there's not very many marks for each one of these participation activities, it could translate into, much better marks in doing the tests and completing the assignments. So keep all your information, keep all your files, and I'll emphasize that I want you to work with templates. And why? Because templates are a standard in today's world, especially in remote access and remote communications, where you need to fill out forms, you need to fill out information, and you want to present that information in the most effective way. And here's the biggest reason, all right? What you'll find is that most leaders in most organizations, they're just inundated with information. So basically, they're basically ADD, all right? Attention deficit disorder. So what you need to do is you need to find the right communication vehicle to be able to get their attention, to show them that you've done your due diligence, to really talk about what critically that you want to get done, and then, and in essence, as you're getting into your own career, telling them what they have to do for you. All right, so this is key, and that's why I'm really kind of emphasizing fill out these templates. I have a whole slew of documents that are on Google Docs that I have links for, that you can access. You fill them out, and oh, by the way, you may do some particular exercise in the participation activities that will translate directly to the main assignment, the group assignment on Amazon for a particular concept. And so that's why you need to keep this stuff, and you're doing your work up front so that you can get a sense of feedback from what you've done in the participation activity, and then improve on that to be able to do better in answering the question in the actual group assignment, near the end of the term. Okay, so that's why I'm asking you to do all this stuff. All right, so here's the thing. I talked about how important communication is, and here's a link to a paper that I really would like you to read. And it's writing is your superpower in today's economy. There's no doubt about that. And it even shows you in the article, the way it's written, what the concept should look like when you're communicating. And I've given you a link here. And the last two paragraphs, they sum up the benefits and justify the points made. And why am I driving this through is because I'm hoping that when you leave this course, you'll have a better sense of how to do critical thinking. Because critical thinking is going to be how you differentiate yourself when you're competing for a job under artificial intelligence tools in the workforce. And that's the skill, really, one of the key skills that you bring to working with artificial intelligence. And that's why, from a management principles point of view, why I'm driving that home. I hope that, when you do leave, you'll know, yes, okay, I can do critical thinking, at a much better level than I used to be able to. Okay, so that's what that's all about. All right, so in terms of assignment expectations, I'm really, so I do a lot of marking, right? You think that there's a lot of work in the course. Well, if you look at it from my end, there's a lot of marking. And what I'd like you to do is use the format that I specify, and use headings and subheadings and underline things, and depict. Again, the biggest thing is that why it matters. And when you address why it matters, it really talks about, the way that you've critically did some thinking around that, and you know what's crucial to the issues that you need to solve or the problems that you need to solve. And this piece here, this little piece it comes from an article, and it gives you examples. So here's people understand your message the first time that they read it. There's an example of an ineffective way of stating what you need to do, and an effective way. All right. And the thing is that I'm going to talk about moments of truth as we go through here. And moments of truth was a concept that came out in the 80s from an airline CEO, and talked about you never have a second chance to make a first impression. All right. So what happens is that when you write something, when you go and communicate in a presentation, when you meet a key customer, that first 7 seconds really is you're creating a moment of truth. And in that moment of truth, then, that if you haven't really shown that you're credible and authentic, then that perception of your work or of your personality will linger with those people you're trying to influence. So readers need to find you credible and authentic. And so that, consider me as a marker, as your customer. And as your customer, what am I looking for? And the more that you can address what I'm looking for, the more that you will connect and showing me that you really understand the requirements of what the assignment is all about and what you need to portray to be successful. So that's key. All right. And this is another advertisement for a Google Doc. I don't expect you to read all these, but if you do, I think you're going to be better off. But here's a thing that I'm going to be giving you as we go through this, and I call them helpful hints, hopefully. And this article really kind of said it all. AI won't replace you in many circumstances, but someone using it, might replace you. And what I'm going to try to do, as we go through these concepts in terms of theories and in terms of management principles, and how those management principles translate into tools and techniques, what I'm going to show you then is that how it's so important to really understand, how you're going to make an impact with AI, and really take advantage of, showing your employer or showing your customers, if you're running your own business, that you really know, what you're doing. All right. And you won't be, you'll be a key candidate to be able to manage AI capabilities in an organization. And I'll tell you one other statistic as well, is that the top 20% of all people in their fields are always going to be employed, the top 20%. And so what I want to encourage you to think about is think of yourself as an elite business practitioner performer. All right. And if you have that in terms of trying to give yourself the edge to be in that top 20%, you're going to be successful and you'll always be employed. Right. It's a new contract in today's world, because before, in my time, in my early years, I could work for one company and probably stay there for the rest of my working life and retire from that, which isn't the case anymore. It's all about what value do you bring to an organization, and yes, they'll treat you fine while you're there, most of them, and then once they get what they need, then your contract is done and you move on. And that's why it's so important to really understand what AI is going to do for you and how you're going to manage AI to be in that elite performer status to be able to stay employed. So that's really what I'm talking about. So why am I telling you all this? Well, I want to give you a sense of what's out there already. And if you go to the Canadian website, you can see that there's all kinds of courses. There's all kinds of areas that you can take to be able to become a lot better at what you're doing. So I wanted to show you what what Canada, as a world-leading artificial intelligence research hub, can offer you, and look at all these different types of training, at the different colleges and universities that you can really kind of work yourself through in terms of using those as tools, to be able to be the most effective business practitioner that there is in the field that you choose. So that's what this is all about. So I want to talk now about the actual Blackboard, that we're working from. And the first thing I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to tell you many times, is that please do not email me through Blackboard, because I won't respond as quickly and I won't respond as effectively as that if you send me an email through my RDP email. And why is because I may be, bringing my wife to Sobeys and I'm in the parking lot, and what am I doing? I'm looking through my RDP emails. I'm not at home in my home office to be able to satisfy you, because I'd have to be in Blackboard to get your email and then figure out what you needed. So that's really key. Okay, so here's a little bit about the navigational panel inside of Blackboard for this course. And what you'll find here is that this course content, what you see here is that if you start at welcome and course outline, you'll get my welcome message, and you will also get the up-to-date course outline. And the up-to-date course line has all the dates. It has all the all the deliverables that you need to provide. And the thing is that if there's any uncertainty, because there's so many areas, so many details in the Blackboard and the communications, that there may be an error somewhere, but where to start is go back to the course outline and confirm that. And then if there's still a discrepancy, then please contact me as soon as you can, and I will do my best to be able to correct that as fast as I possibly can. All right, so that's what this course content is all about. Here's where I talk to you all the time in terms of Blackboard announcements. And oh, by the way, this is how I abbreviate Blackboard. Big B, little b, that's Blackboard announcements. And you'll find that in most cases, what I'll do is I'll put an announcement up, and I'll have it emailed to you as well, through the Blackboard, and so that that you're getting that. And the thing is that's my primary communication to you from me. All right. And here, if you go to the MS Teams webinar link, you can click on that to get right into the webinar, to be able to, to attend the webinar. But also, what you'll find is you can go in and then find out what was done on the chat, and you'll see the links to the recordings there, as well as what's on my RDP YouTube channel. All right. Now, the key thing is that you're going to need to do a group sign up, and that's you're doing this yourself. You're going to sign up to a group, and the whole idea is to sign up to a group as soon as you possibly can. And what I recommend is try to find people that you've worked with in the past. I know many of you are first-year college students, so maybe just in your through your friendship network, be able to find out. And because what will happen is, before the deadline, if there's still people out there, I'm going to group them, and it may not work for you as well as if you're not working with some people you've worked with before, and that's key. So what you do then is you actually click on this link. It'll take you to groups, and then you sign in and assign yourself to one particular group. And what we're looking at is no more than 3 in each group, so that you know that that's the case. All right. When I talk about these topic commentary PowerPoint presentations, this is where you find them. All right, the topic commentary presentations. So if you're looking for, the topic 1 commentary, you'll click on this, and then you'll go to the directory, or the actual the directory, and you'll see topic 1. And then under topic 1, you'll actually see the PowerPoint presentation. You click on that, and then you're there. All right. What I've done is I've created a discussion board where you could ask Coach Gary. So if you have a question that you think you need answered, what you do is you put it on Blackboard, because especially if you think that we're going to have to go back and forth, and then when it's on the discussion board, then other people can see that. But I'll tell you that just even if you have a question, you send me an email, I will answer it. And if I feel that all your colleagues could take advantage of it, I will actually thank you for that question, just by first name, and then I will actually post the answer for everyone to see. All right. And what we're going to do is all your three tests are going to be remote. And what you're going to need to do is use the lockdown browser. And the whole idea is be prepared well before the test to test whether that lockdown browser is working. And there's some information here in terms of lockdown browser or what you need to do, need to know. And especially, if you have a workbook, there's special instructions for a workbook, so that the platform doesn't exactly match all the things that you need to do, with the regular desktop or regular devices. So there's some instructions on there that are specialized that you can go through. Okay, so I'm talking a lot. So how about, does anyone have any questions at all? Any questions? Okay, Nicole, you've got a thumbs up. So does that mean things are okay? Do you want to unmute and actually ask a question? Okay, so they're all good. So, okay, great. Thank you, Nicole. All right, so work groups, and I call them groups, I call them teams, and the whole idea is that you have this opportunity to work with people that you'd like to work with. Students that don't make it a priority get into a group will be enrolled by me, and the work with the Learning Team Charter. So as soon as you bring together this group, I want you to complete this Learning Team Charter. And what this Learning Team Charter is, it's a contract. And it will really give you the tools to be able to work together. And will it be marked? No, this is a tool for you as a group. And the thing is that you'll be able to use this Learning Team Charter as a basis for understanding what project charters are all about when you get into big projects, when you lead this program. And the thing is that I'm really kind of setting you up to learn some key skills to be able to be a better team member, going forward. So I want you to understand that. And again, the more effort that your group puts into the course participation activities right before, because assignment number 4 will be near the end of the term, and you'll be scrambling. And the more that you can put into these participation activities, the better that you're going to be prepared to be able to do that team project. All right. All right. So that's that. Okay. So there's where you sign up in terms of Blackboard. You click on that and you sign up. And the whole thing about the Learning Team Charter is that the benefits are immense, and I can speak to this because I used to do a lot of team charters. I had in my other corporate life, I was a program director. I had 10 project managers working for me on a particular project at one point in time, and team charters, the project charters, were key in terms of really setting up the expectations and getting support, and actually upward managing your sponsors to be able to make them agree right in the document, and then go back saying, hey, you said that you were going to do this for me and you didn't, so are you going to do this, right? So what does it do? It gets you to really kind of outline the roles and responsibilities. You have some key goals and objectives. You have regular meetings, and you understand how you're going to resolve conflict. All right. And it gives you enhanced accountability. It'll allow you to collaborate much more effectively, and it really help you motivate and morale. And the thing is, it's a skill development. And you'll see that, there'll be a lot of improvement from continuous feedback, and naturally you'll get better grades as you're working through that piece. All right, so what to do then? You're going to see when you look and sign up at the group in Blackboard, that this link will be there as well to be able to start into the team charter to do that. Um, so why am I telling you this? Because the workplace is going to be even more concentrated, with the way that management is evolving and what we call immersive workplaces. And the more that you can hone your soft management skills to get along and work together, the more effectively that you're going to be seen as a team member and a doer and a person that brings value to the organization, and you'll be more successful. So that's why I'm telling all this. And the whole key around that is having what we call authentic conversations in your group. If you've got a problem, you be honest and you talk about it. And why will authentic conversations get you there? Well, because you'll build trust. It'll be a clear way of getting communications. You'll encourage people to participate. You'll get beyond some issues that are going on. So you're dealing with conflict head on, and you're building emotional intelligence. And we're going to talk a lot about management principles around emotional intelligence, and a particular theorist, and we're going to cover that as we go through. But EQ is one of the most significant attributes that employers look for, because it has such a great impact on getting things done, through a group of people. All right. So again, there's a lot of things that are about this. I'll get you to go through that, but let's just talk about, deliverables and for week one, and what's due. So what's due is that you need to come together with a group by May 8th and complete a team charter. And here's the Google link to be able to do that. And again, just to know that sometimes I take a picture of the link on Blackboard and put it on a presentation, and that won't get it. You can't link through a picture. So in a lot of cases, I've gone back now and I've actually put the link in so you can go directly there. All right. So let's, and I'm not going to try that right now. But anyways, this is what it starts looking like. And, you're going to look at, what are the values that you're going after? What are your processes? What are your key goals? How are you going to communicate? All right. So that's one thing. We're already starting on, the Pearson Revel surveys. And by May 5th, 2 of them are due. And you'll say, well, do I really have to register? Well, yes, because you're gonna go through that, and some of those key surveys that you do, you'll have to comment in terms of participation activities as well. And the thing is, it's I think it's about I think it's $85 for this course, and along with that, you get the e-text for free. But the thing is that you need to register and pay that fee to be able to do those surveys. And again, for some of you who are waiting for funds or whatever, you can register for the first 14 days. But again, be wary of, after 14 days, if you haven't paid, anything that you've done gets erased in terms of performance. So that be knowledgeable about that as well. So the first 2 surveys, one is using your influencing strategy. The second one is a personal assessment of your management skills. Right. So that's those are the key pieces that you're going to have to go through. And then one of the participation activities is related to particularly this survey as well. Okay. So again, working the participation activities in each topic, there's a great payoff. Maybe not in marks, but in terms of helping you do better on the actual assignments and get better marks, and to do better on the tests and get better marks. All right, so let's talk about the first assignment. Right, and the first assignment, I call it it's assignment number 1. It's a pre-assessment survey, and what is it doing? is that let me just give you a quick, a quick review or planning 101. All right. And I've created this little piece, many years ago, and I use this, with the clients of my consulting firm that I was pretty active in a few years ago. And basically what planning is all about, it's a gap analysis. And what it is then, it's like, where are you now? Right? That's the baseline. Where are you now? And how did you get there? And then where do you want to be? That's where, that's your vision, desired end state. Where do you want to be? Well, I want to be a top-notch, uh, a cost accounting accountant, and work in one of the premier consulting organizations in North America. All right, so that's probably your end state. So what you do then is that you understand, from a survey point of view, where are you now? And then where do you want to be in terms of that top-notch cost accountant? And then it really outlines, what you need to do in terms of development. And that's where you start, setting goals to be able to reach the capabilities and achieve, what your vision and state is. So that's what that's all about. So what I'd like you to do then is that, you click on this link and you go in and you actually fill out that survey and make sure that you put your email in there, and then you hit submit. And when you do hit submit, what it does, it sends you an email to confirm that, yes, you filled that out. All right. If you don't get it, then let me know, and then we got to figure out what happened. But there's one thing that I've made a particular change on. And what I've done is I've added another question in that assignment number 1. And it's only really to get you to start thinking about this baseline, right off the bat, in terms of, where are you now? And how to do that is that in assignment 3, and it's the future AI management theories, practices, and challenging. What it asks you to do is what field of career and position level that you'd like to be on that, in terms of your vision. So right away, you'll get a sense of, okay, when you answer assignment number 1 and you're creating where you think you are, you'll have a perspective of where you want to be, right from the start. And that's why I've added that question in there. So I'm hoping this slide really explains that piece, so that you could understand what's going on. And again, if you don't understand, email me, all right? And email me on my RDP email, and I'd be happy to answer that question. Okay, so you can see that this right here is the actual question in the assignment. View assignment number 3, future AI management theories. Answer the first 2 requirements, and then it's just a short answer that you put on that survey answer, and the Google link for assignment number 3 is right here. Okay, so you have all that you need. Now we talk about the participation topics, activities that you need to do for topic 1. And so that 1A, it's an individual submission, so everyone has to do this on their own. And what they need to do then is that, you did this one survey, the Person Rebel survey, personal assessment of management skills, right? That's this one right here. All right, and now you're being asked the question then, include a screenshot of that, and to show me that, you've done that piece. And this is really going to help you in terms of assignment number 2. You see how it's all building blocks. And if you did this survey, you'll really get a sense of how you're going to answer some of the questions in what we call the manager style self-audit assignment that's due May 13th. So that's what topic A is. And I'm not asking for the large amounts of information. What I'd like you to do is to be economical, right? To really give me a sense of, yes, I understood the question and I'm telling you the answer and I'm telling you why it matters, right? To demonstrate that you're doing some critical thinking. Now, the second one is, again, it's due on May the 5th, and you have to answer these 4 questions. So what I'd like you to do is, select a business that you can see yourself managing, and keep that in mind, right? And then which views of management would you implement, all right? In terms of, what's going on, and then which views of management would you avoid. And again, I'm going to show you, a presentation in this a link of a presentation to really help you, answer these questions. And do any of these theories help the organization, and why do any of these theories hurt the organization? All right, so I'm not looking for very much right now because we're at the beginning of the course, but the reflection is really going to help you. I say, 25 to 30 words per sentence, as long as it's economical. If it's 15 words, that's fine. If it's 1 or 2 words, no, that's not going to work. Okay, so just so you know where that is. So why are we doing this? Why study management? Well, you don't need to study management. I mean, you don't need to, even though you're not going to be a manager, say, it's going to help you, right? Because we interact with organizations every day, and understanding management itself gives you insights on how you can behave, on how you can respond. So the reality of work means that we'll either manage or we'll be managed. So you don't need to become a manager, to benefit from study of management. It helps, no doubt. But again, if you decide that, hey, I just want to be a practitioner, like what do they call it, a subject matter expert, in terms of I want to be, a key chemist or whatever, understanding management will allow you to be able to interact much better, is what I'm trying to say. Okay. So what factors are reshaping and redefining management? So I'm going to talk about this for a long time, and it's called triple bottom line. And what it is in today's world is that by 2050, the way that we're going in terms of consumerisms, we're going to need 3 Earths to be able to satisfy our consumer attitudes and behaviors. And we don't have 3 Earths. So we really have to focus on, being sustainable. How are we going to be sustainable? And to be sustainable, we need to think about, well, we want our next generations, we want our grandchildren's grandchildren to have the same things that we have in terms of, clean water and clean air and enough to go around. And what does that mean then? It means that you need to be a good ancestor. And to be a good ancestor, well, then you follow triple bottom line. So it's basically people, planet, prosperity. So people, there's all these social requirements. Excuse me, I'm just having a drink of water here. The people part is, all the social requirements, so that we're not disaffecting some social aspect of what we're doing because we're trying to do business. The next one is planet, well, the environmental aspects of it. And the next one is what we call prosperity. When triple bottom line first came out, it just talked about profit. But essentially, if you're not making any profit, no matter how good of an organization you are in terms of helping society and looking after the environment, you're not going to be around. So profit is still a key thing, but it's not the only thing, right? It's triple bottom line. And where we're looking in terms of the evolution of management in terms of principles is that we're in that next phase now in our timeline to be able to really start thinking about, we need to care and we need to look at what's really important in terms of making sure that our environment is stable and society is still taken care of. And yes, we're moving and we're growing and we're making businesses profitable. So that's really going to come back time and time again when we go through these presentations. Now let me just tell you how this course kind of works. All right. So really where we start at management theory. And from the management theory, it's really important to understand the theorists and how they came about to come up with those theories. And why did they come up? Well, the environment changed. So if you look at Frederick Taylor, right? He was at the result of the Industrial Revolution. And so, efficiency was really important. So because of efficiency being important, Frederick Taylor actually designed theories around being more efficient and more effective. And then from there came management principles from that theory. And from the management principles, then, so the principles were derived from those theories. And then from the management principles, management tools were developed to execute on the management principles. Because I've had students ask me saying, well, this is supposed to be a management principles course, and why are we looking at all these, numerous types of management tools? Well, you got to see that that's what the result is of these management principles, and that's really, in the next age when we get into, and we're into it now, but in terms of robotics, in terms of artificial intelligence, which is the next wave of management theories that are going to need to develop to make sure that AI is being done on an ethical basis, that AI is really satisfying society in a way to improve, quality of life and happiness and protecting the environment. So then from that new theory, that addresses AI, an environmental situation, an environmental impact or driver, then principles will come out of there saying, well, we need a care. We need ethical training. We need better ways to be able to deal with environmental restraints and looking after that piece. And then from that, we develop management tools. So that's really, what's going on in that course, so that when we're looking at all these participation activities, most of them, translate into tools. And you need to take that back to, okay, well, what management principles are they addressing? And then where do those management principles come from in terms of management theory? And then who created those theories in terms of the theorists? So that's where that's all about. So we're connecting all this together. And here we are, we're talking about additional reading. And what you're going to find is that the PowerPoint presentations, and oh, by the way, you can access them through Blackboard in terms of, what I told you and where the commentaries are. From these e-text PowerPoints are additional information that's really going to help you understand, the concepts that we're taking and understand, the actual theory behind things, so that I'm going to specify certain PowerPoints for each topic. Not every topic will have them, but most of them will, right? And this key one, Supplement 1A, A Brief History of Management, is there. And inside of that, I've actually added to it so that, instead of going right to the e-text, go to Blackboard to be able to find it. And I just want to show you where that is, because I think I have, okay. So here's, my Blackboard piece. It doesn't quite look like yours, but what you need to do is that, we're going to go to topic commentary presentations. I click on that, right? And now you can see on topic commentary 1, here's these, Robbins Brief History of Management, supplement, 1A, and then, and some of the additional things that I've asked you to look at. Here's the power presentation that I'm working from right now. All right, so here's how you find these things. Okay, so from where are we here again? Come on, help me out. From topic commentary to to the actual section of topic commentary, and then additional information that's under there. So that's where that is. Okay. All right. So so what we need to look at is that if you take a look at where we started and sort of like Industrial Revolution, the theories and the principles were all based on execution, in terms of being efficient and being effective. And then what happened is that the people were expended. They weren't really looked at well enough, and really weren't associated, in terms of their talents on how they can improve management. So what happened then? There was as the years went through, there was an evolution to these are still required. I mean, and like this scientific management theory. I mean, I've been subject to this, in some of the work that I've done, when I was working as a miner, for hard rock mining and back in Ontario. All right, so I'll tell you about that some other time. But then the focus was started to be on expertise, on the behavior of the workers and the types of management required to be able to address positive behaviors. So it wasn't just the machines, all right. And then a lot evolved around this expertise focus in terms of systems theory and quantitative theory and technology driven workplace. But now we're going to be into this new wave, adaptation of theory related to AI advancements. And here's where empathy and trust are really going to start coming in. And when I talk about trust, if you take a look in today's world and in all the disinformation that's going on the internet and all the types of movements, people don't have trust in institutions anymore. And so that if you're going to be working in an organization, you really need to manage to build trust, and you need to care, right? You need to care and adopt in terms of that triple bottom line piece. So this is how this is all coming together. And we talk about execution. I already talked about Frederick Taylor, but we're going to talk about Henry Fayol and Henry L. Grant, but maybe you Fayol a lot. And on the expertise part, we're going to talk a lot, about what Mary Parker Follett brought to the management theories and principles going there, as well as Chester Barnard and Max Webster. All right, and then now in empathy, there's a professor out of California called Rita McGrath, and she's really kind of pointing this way in terms of needing to care, in terms of what's the realities of artificial intelligence. What will it take for a future business leader to function as a pillar? And how should the next generation of managers be taught and developed? And it gets back to what I was saying earlier. The more that we have a sense of how management theories and management principles evolve and why, will give us a lot of insights as to what we need to consider when we're looking at newer management theories and management principles in this new age, of technology that we're going into. And that will make everyone stronger, and we'll be in a better space in terms of managing people in a fair and triple bottom way, right? Okay, so strap yourself in. These new convergence trends, they're coming together. I mean, and trust is going to be important, and AI becomes an indispensable tool of everyday life, and it raises profound questions about trust, the profound questions about ethics, profound questions about how is society going to cope with all this, right? So that's key. And remember what I said. AI may not replace you, but I'm going to give you some references to show, say how lawyers are going to be replaced in the next 10 years. It may not replace you, but someone who can manage AI, probably will, if you're not being up in that top 20%. Okay, so here's some key things, just for your information. 2025 is a year of convergence. There's lots going on, so you're going to see a lot of things coming together, which advances technology and then impacts the workplace and impacts management. Okay, so how does this all come together? So what we're looking at trends and the business solution challenges and AI, artificial intelligence technology development, and then and that really creates a need for new management theories. But also, you're going to look at your assessment and know what kind of developmental you needs so that you're prepared. And, as these new management theories come into play, there's going to be new and existing management applications. And yes, you will be here to be able to deal with that as we go through and have a relevant business performance assessment to be able to perform much better. So here's how you really meet the challenge. It's seeing what's coming to hit you, getting this baseline of where you are, getting prepared, and then being in that top 20%, that elite business performer to be able to, make management work. Okay. So again, I've been talking quite a bit. So let me just check to see if there's anything in the chat. Okay. No, I have Nicole saying that she's okay. That's good. All right. So any questions at all? Does anybody want to unmute and ask me a question about, what we've listened to so far? We're all good?
Is there class time for working with our groups, or do we have to schedule that on our own?
You have to schedule that yourself, okay? And that's all on your time. And oh, by the way, that's part of filling out the learning team charter, because it will say that you'll set up how you're going to do your meetings and how you're going to exchange information and those kind of things. That's a great question, Aaron. Thanks for that. Okay, does that help you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so so here's the sort of the timeline. Here was pre-industrialization, and then we had the Industrial Revolution, and this is where Frederick Taylor came about, and now we've gone through these various pieces, and now we're in this age of needing some new tools, some new theories, some new management principles, and new tools to be able to deal with what's going on, and you can see it already, in terms of there's this thing called disruptive technology, and there's going to be more and more disruptive technology, as we go forward in the next 5 to 10 years even. So just to give you an example of a disruptive technology, when the iPod came out, right? Just before it came out, people used to buy a CD with maybe 25, 30 different tunes on there, and would pay $30, say Canadian, for a CD, and then all of a sudden the iPod comes out, and you could buy a tune for 99 cents, and that put the whole music entertainment industry on its ear. All right, that was the best example of a disruptive technology that you could come up with, and it changed the whole way that things are doing. And now when we get into in terms of streaming music and everything else, all the middle people in these business interactions are bypassed, and it's so disruptive, and the system becomes more efficient, right? Because you, the consumer, get exactly what you want from the supplier, right? And that's where we're going, right? And AI will create more and more customized offerings for the customer than what we've ever imagined. All right, and actually even prescribe things, because the AI will know you better than what you know you. All right, so that's where we're going. So this is this evolution. So as we go through the topics, you're going to see us moving through this, and topics 8, 9, and 10, will be in this area, of qualitative contingency, and we're going to talk about total quality management, really, which is part of this quantitative piece, going forward as well. So that's where that is. So what I'd like you to do is, even to do your participation activity 1, go through this supplement, and you really get to see what's going on, and it's a good idea to review this for each test, for test 1 and 2 and 3, and for assignments 2 and 3 especially. So go back to this supplement, over and over again, and then really focus on it when you're looking at assignments 2 and 3. It's gonna help you provide better, more effective answers and get better marks. All right, so that's what that's all about. So here's the approach for studying for the tests, and why so much information, right? There's a lot of information in Blackboard itself, and a lot of it, is up to you, whether you feel that you need more and more information. But here's the key part. Here's where we start. It's the commentary presentations, that are really the driver in terms of what's important, for the assignments and the tests. And the Robbins eText PowerPoints presentations really supplement the commentary information. Okay, so for tests number one, there's 3 PowerPoint presentations for the 4 topics that you have to cover. All right, and what to understand then is that there's practice tests. So by the time we get to topic number 4, you'll see some practice tests that you can do. There's no marks that are assigned to doing those practice tests, but it'll mark your practice test to see what, how well you're doing. But it'll give you a sense of what type of questions are in the test themselves, and that will be a really good thing. All right. So again, key information at the front end, and then what you do then is that you review your participation activities that you've done. Because that's going to really kind of give you a lot more insight as to, what's on the test as well. And then to supplement everything else, then you go to the slide decks that are in each topic under Blackboard. And you can skim through those and really get a sense of what more information is. And I've got more to say about these, because in these commentary, I'm going to tell you what's important here. So you won't have to, be overwhelmed by all this information. And then Professor Power has done an amazing job of doing, descriptive videos on a lot of these concepts. And then I'd recommend that, not all of them, but some of the key ones that you may not understand, watch your videos, and then you'll get a sense of, what you need to know, because really, being this online course, you're really left to your own devices in a lot of ways to be able to understand the material and the content, to be able to, work through the assignments and the tests. And then last but not least, there's the e-text if you want to find out more. But again, I'm going to be showing you here, what's important as we go through here. Okay, so that's where that is. And then remember again that your test 1, you need to test your Respondus lockdown browser and your webcam capability before. There's nothing worse than finding out that, oh, yeah, I have a new device and I thought it was uploaded, but it wasn't. And then you come to be able to do the test, and then you're frazzled because you can't get in. All right, so that's the piece that you need to worry about. Okay. Okay, so I showed you, what this folder looks like, when you go to topic commentary presentations, and then, here's the presentation that we're on right now, and again, this, these are pretty important pieces to understand. All right, especially this, this particular presentation. Okay. So inside of the course outline, if you want to know what's going on, you can see, week by week what you're going to need to provide, and you can see here. So in week 1, whoops, this is this is an outdated piece, but in topic 1, you know what? I should have updated this piece here. I think I may have it somewhere else. Let me see. Oh, okay. Sorry, this isn't updated. It should have been updated. Okay. So what it does is you'll be able to see, what presentation PowerPoints are needed, and then what's required. So here's where, you're going to see what you need to do. And oh, by the way, if you go into the calendar, and let me do that. All right. You go into the calendar. So where is it here? Due dates calendar. So if you click on the calendar, everything that's due is said, is in this calendar itself. So you can see, where, you're going to need to do, assignment number one, by May the 6th, you're going to have these, when your Blackboard group uh, um, uh, learning team charter is needed, and it really kind of lays out, where you need to do your surveys, and then and when your assignments are due. All right, so all this is in the calendar itself. Okay. Not going to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about this as well. But again, uh, yeah, okay. So there's the piece about the calendar, and I thought I did an update on this, but I think I did an update down on the slides here. So let me just see. There's just so much to do in these courses, and the updates are crazy. So yeah, you're going to find that, if you go to the course outline, this is, you'll find the updated piece on this. And then in terms of the actual assignments and tests, you'll see that in the course outline as well. But again, understand that, that these assessments and learning activities are building blocks to help you get this done. Okay. So just a little bit about the in topic one, I created this presentation so that you can see the connection between the management principles and the theories and the tools. So it's a good idea to have this alongside of you when you're doing assignments and whatever. And you can see when you go to this document, you can see, what category that theorist, Frederick Winslow Taylor, what created, which theory principles, and then what type of tools are associated with those principles. So it really gives you a sense of what, how this all comes together when I showed you that. The next one is connecting Rebel survey work to management principles. So I put this one through, and I showed you every one of the surveys that you're doing, where it either connects to, a classical theory or a neoclassical or a modern theory, and then who are the contributors. So you really get a sense of how this comes together, is doing that. Okay, I talked about the gap analysis. So let me just talk about the baseline again. So you're doing these surveys, and you're getting a sense of, where you are in terms of your capabilities, your attributes, your preferences, right? And you get a sense of, who you are. And that's not right or wrong, that's who you are, all right? And then you take a look at where do you want to be. And so by knowing where you are in terms of, are you a beginner in certain areas, or are you average, or are you sort of skilled, then what you have to do in terms of gap to be an expert in where you want to be, right? That's what that's all about. Um, and so really what you're doing then is, you're looking at, um, where you are in terms of how you're going to improve yourself, and then you'll have an actual objective of where you want to go, and then you'll know, where the gap is going forward. Okay. All right. So here's the up-to-date piece that I know I put in and I missed it on the other place. So here's your assignments. Assignments one, which you're going to be doing, by May 6th. Assignment two is the management style audit. That's due on May the 13th. Assignment three, which is the future management theories, to practices and challenges. Test number one will be a 2-day period that I'm going to open it up, and you're going to do it online. Uh, uh, Test number two will be, again, a 2-day period, June 3rd and 4th, and it's worth 15%. And you can see what I've done is I've graduated these amounts, test one, 10%, test two, 15%, and test three, 20%. We're always on the first test. We're not quite sure, what kind of questions we're going to get and whatever. And we have a chance to adjust then. And you can see that I'm gradually giving you more marks for about the same amount of studying, to be able to do that. And you'll see that test number three, it will be, I'll have a date on that during exam week that I will share with you once the registrar gives it to me, all right, going through. And also, if you look at these assessments, you'll see that for test one, you would access that test in topic 5 in Blackboard. And what to understand as well is that that test won't be seen until 8 o'clock on May the 20th a.m. That's when it appears, and it will be there until end of day on May the 21st. So don't panic if you don't see it before then, because it's scheduled to show up at a particular time and for a particular duration, right? And that's about it on this piece. So I'll just ask, any questions about that? Does anybody want to unmute and ask any questions about the assessments? We're all good? I see some thumbs up. We're getting pretty close to the end here, so. Okay, thanks, Aaron. Okay, so here's a piece of information, your Amazon project. Okay, your Amazon project. All right, let me see here. Assignment number 4, due on June the 12th. It's a good idea to really kind of take a look at this, like right off the bat, to see what's going on, and take a look at the assignment itself and see how this really plays into things. And now here's the key. Remember, I told you that in the commentary presentations, I'm going to flag what's important. So when I showed you this little drawing, so sometimes there'll be bolded words, sometimes there'll be something underlined, and most times it will be highlighted in yellow, and what's really important, you'll see some keys. All right. And so that's the way to understand when you go to the PowerPoint presentation inside of the topic on Blackboard. You don't have to really focus on everything. Look into where I'm kind of guiding you. Okay. So now we're into basically the information on topic 1, and you can see then you see how this is highlighted in yellow. This means that this is really important, and you should really understand what the basic management functions are, okay? And what the key ones are planning, organizing, leading, and controlling, and oh, by the way, you're going to find out as well, one of the theorists, when you go through that, actually created this, when they were trying to, build more expertise into, into management as well. So this is where you're going to see this come through. And what's also important is to know really what the levels of management are, because there's different responsibilities, based on say like planning. Well, top management is going to do a lot more planning than lower management, but lower management is going to do a lot more leading, because they have to change behaviors in the workforce to be able to get things done, right? And so that's a key thing to understand, and there's likely going to be some test questions around that. Okay, so on the planning side, what's really important, you can see now this is highlighted, are the aspects of planning of goals, objectives, and strategies. By the way, we're going to spend a lot of time on that, in the topics. And then, I talked about the leading part. The leading part is, motivating, leading, and any other action involved in dealing with people. Well, providing direction and guidance. I mean, that's a key aspect of leading, and the thing is, there's leading at different levels, but a lot of the leading is right on, at the working level, working with employees, and that's why you see this little key here that it's really important. And here's where it all comes together. And something you should understand too, when I was going through all this management training, what they said was, well, there's leading and there's managing, right? And leading, well, you're a high level person, and managing, you're a lower level person. But in today's world, it's coming together, you know. And as a manager, you need leading skills. As a leader, you need management skills. And that's what really, makes people a lot more effective. And I'll tell you this right away. Statistics say, all right, that most people don't leave their organizations. They leave their bosses, right? Why? Well, maybe there was a lack of leadership, so there wasn't trust or confidence. Maybe there was a lack of actual management where they weren't certain, they weren't clear on what their role was. All right, so that's how this all comes together. And you can see here, Henry Fayol, he brought up these functions of management. This came from Henry Fayol in terms of theories, and where he talked about what is planning, and and um, and the other pieces of the functions of management, and the types of formal management. Well, you should understand what that is. In our day and age, there's a lot of teams, so there's team leaders, and this has kind of evolved over the last 20 years, where you didn't see very many teams. In today's world, it's a big part of total quality management. And so that the role of a team leader is very, very important. And we're going to talk about those pieces. And then there's the first line supervisor. Those are people that are on the line, on the work line, in terms of the production line or the service delivery line. And what you need to understand about first line supervisors is that first line supervisors are the most trusted manager level in North America. And if you're a leader, like an executive, and you don't have enough insight to provide the first line supervisor with the right information to keep that trust, you're not going to have an effective management, an effective workforce. All right, so knowing that first line supervisors are absolute key in how they contribute to the overall essence and outcomes of the organization. And then there's the middle manager, and the middle manager could be a department head or a district or a division manager, and then a top manager. And we talk about the C level. So CEO, that's Chief Executive Officer, COO, Chief Operating Officer, CIO, Chief Information Officer, CFO, Chief Financial Officer. Those are the people that are really kind of doing all the strategic planning part of what's going on. And I'm going to show you a breakdown of those functions with those 3 levels of management that we talked about. Okay, and then the types of management. So you need to understand, what is a function. What's a business function? And in terms of a business function, well, marketing's a function, and accounting, that's a function. Treasury, that's a function, and so a functional manager will run that function. They're responsible for just one of those organizational activities, and then general managers are responsible for maybe several functional managers. They're responsible for several organization activities, and it might be across geography. It may be across product lines. It may be across disciplines. All right. So there's different types of general managers. And the thing is that when we talk about being an effective leader, we're talking about having an effective management style as a leader. And there's different types, and you should really understand what the various types are. What I've done is I've listed 10 common management styles here. And when you're answering questions in assignment number 2, I want you to use the definitions, instead of saying, if I ask you what type of a manager you are, well, yeah, well, I like people. No, you want to say, well, I'm a democratic type of manager, and the team's voice is at the forefront of decision making, and that's why, I'm a democratic style of manager. I like to work, through all the people, right? So the thing is it's not limited, but it's given you the most common ones that we're talking about all the time. And if you go into the literature and you find, another management style and you can talk about it, I'll accept that, right? But in most cases, I want you to use, one of these types of definitions when you're defining your own style as you go through the surveys to really give a sense of, it'll tell you what your predominant style is. And what you need to understand as well is that leading HR consulting firms globally say that you should have at least 4 other types of management styles that you know how to work through to be able to deal with different conditions in the workplace. So you'll have your predominant style, and your predominant style really gives you a sense of how you should select, which type of organization you want to work with, because different organizations will have a different type of culture and have different types of customers and industrial drivers. And your predominant style, may totally fit in one of those types of businesses and not fit in another. And that's a good way of really, getting there from the start and fitting in, right? And then when things, vary, then you have in your back pocket, another 4 type of styles that you're aware of and you can use, and because you practiced at it. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking at in this piece. All right, and again, here's those 10 common leadership styles, yeah. Okay, so this you can use these definitions as well. Oh, so what do managers do? Well, they're the people who got things done, right? Take action. They encourage other people to take action. They use info to guide people's actions. All right. And then they frame the context. So managers, and here's another advertisement. If you really want to get a sense of how to be successful as a leader and a manager, take a search on, and I'm going to put it in the chat, Simon Sinek. And why? Uh, have a look at what Simon Sinek says about, the why. And if you could explain why people have to do things, in terms of the critical information, in terms of the requirements, in terms of the drivers, in terms of, the executive direction, then they were more apt to follow you and they're more apt to trust you. And that's so important to being, a good manager. So here, here are some of now those theorists that are coming into play. So Chester Barnard, he really talked about that, managers are responsible for reducing instability. So you could see that it's this is highlighted in bold. And so what Chester Barnard, one of the key principles, that he introduced was managers bring stability. And if you can see that right now in today's world, with the tariffs that are going on in the world, people have no idea how to plan right now because the tariffs are on, tariffs are off, tariffs, will be put on. They don't know how long they're going to be put on for. So how can that bring stability, right? So not only organizations won't invest, but people won't know which way to turn, right? So you need to introduce stability into the workplace. And that's one of the key principles that Chester Barnard is bringing to the table. And so what he says is that the role of management, you can see this is highlighted. You create a system of communication, you secure cooperation from individuals, and you formulate and define the organization's purpose. What's the purpose? Why, right? The purpose is why. So that's why I bring in Simon Sinek into the picture here. And he talked about the zone of indifference. Subordinates will not challenge communication from superiors, right? So if there's a clear chain of command, and people won't question every little thing because they've understood why they have to do things, and it's the way that gets reinforced by the corporate culture that this is the way we do things, and then you can get things done. But again, you need a position of authority, and you need authority of leadership. So authority of position and authority of leadership, to get things done. So there's a difference. Authority of position means, okay, I'm the manager, I'm the boss. If you don't do what I do, I'm going to fire you. All right, that's the authority position. But authority of leadership saying, hey, I know why we need to do this. And I understand, what the target is, and here's how you're going to figure out, how you're getting there. And I'm going to give you the tools of going on. And hey, I'm going to get the support that you need. That's the authority of leadership. And this really adds to, the certainty of what's going on. You should know a little bit about Charles Spalding because he's one of the, the colored people that have been accredited and finally, given, respect to, what his contributions were. And he talked about the 8 fundamental necessities of management and, cooperation, authority and responsibility, division of labor, adequate manpower, adequate financial capital, the feasibility analysis, advertising budget. So, right here, it really gives you the sense of stability and why we're doing it and the reasons why and the backup information to be able to support why you need to go in a certain direction. So that's really key. Um, and and characteristics of effective organizations, and what comes out is the participation of people, participatory management, employee engagement, and that piece. And now you can see that corporate social responsibility is really part of what we called in this, triple bottom line, people, planet, prosperity, right? On the people part and the environment part, where the more responsible that an organization is, the more brand strength it's going to be, and the more revered it will be in the business community. Okay, so what is management? And you just need to understand that there's efficiency and there's effectiveness, and so efficiency is doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right things. If you have a bad direction and you're going in a bad direction and you're doing something that's not going to help align with the outcomes of the organization, you can be very efficient at doing it, but you're not effective because you're not impacting the overall vision of the organization. So doing things right, efficiency, doing the right things, effectiveness. And those coupled together, gets you in complete alignment where the organization has to go. Mintzberg is another person that we're going to talk about. Not so important right now, but it will be in further topics. Mintzberg right now is a professor at McGill University, one of the leaders in strategic planning. He's regarded as a world expert and known for organizational development and organizational performance. So a really strong player, and still going strong in terms of publishing and consulting. And he's pushing 80 years old these days. Okay, types of management. Formal management. Well, team leader, first line manager. We talked about that. Middle manager, top manager. But understanding, the typical management levels. Again, repeating, top level management, mid-level management, first line management, right? And so as you go up the ladder, more responsibility. But as you go down the ladder, you have a lot more broad responsibility. Sorry. You have a lot less authority, right? So you have less responsibility and less authority at these pieces. But here's the piece that I wanted to make a point to show you. Is you could see that, here's the breakdown of those four functions of management, all right, that Henry Ford had developed in terms of a theory and management principles. For senior management, uh, they do a lot more planning than lower management. For senior management, they do a fair amount more in terms of organizing. But you can see in terms of leading, it's lower management because they're driving the behaviors of the workforce. But you can see here that they have less controlling because the control really is at the senior management level in terms of setting the boundaries and setting the scope of the activities for the organization, right? So this is a key piece to understand, in topic one. All right. And here's the breakdown, by organizational level. So you can see here that, first level managers, it's about 51%, so, um, in terms of leading, right? So that's a key slide. Okay. I'm not going to go through these pieces. This is more for your information. So Mintzberg, qualities of a successful manager. The task of leadership is to create alignment of strengths so that to make people weaknesses irrelevant. I'm going to talk to you a lot about alignment. Here's my view. Here's my view of alignment. Um, I think what I'm going to show you here is so you can say that you'll go to the internet and you say, well, I want to be clear on what the organization can do, and there'll be an article saying, well, here's the top thing that you need to do, to have clarity in your organization. Well, it's more than that, and if you take a look at clarity comes through the beliefs of the people inside the organization, the core values that they have that sets their behaviors, a sense of purpose, the principles that they need to adopt. So what you need then is that you need a whole alignment of all these energies to be able to get clarity. You need a whole alignment of energies and doing to get focus, and then a whole alignment of ways and means, the tools to make an impact, and then systems to be able to get to the results and measure and create. So the power of alignment is amazing, right? And just think of it this way. Um, you know, okay, I'm a jogger and I'm running and I start sweating. So I have a little, bead of sweat that comes down my forehead. No big deal, right? But think about a hurricane, that has a gazillion little beads of water going in the same direction. That is power, all right? So alignment, it really is the power of what you bring to the table. Okay. Um, and why it's important to really understand what your core values are. And what I'm telling you here is that some people, I know myself even, as I was going through this, I didn't really understand the order of the core values that I espoused. And that's really important because you might not take the right direction if you don't understand the level of importance of each one of what you think is important or core value that you have. And what I'd recommend is that, and the course doesn't cover that, but uh, go to the internet and you can find a free core values assessment and really get a sense of, what are your top 5 values? And that will give you a sense of, it'll make clear what your predominant management style is and why. And it'll make clear, how to fit into an organization from the start. Because if your core values don't fit in an organization, um, then you'll be frustrated or you'll be stressed or you just won't be able to perform. So that's what's really key about that piece. Um, and that's all I'm going to cover in this piece. Okay. So that's it for webinar one. We covered the essence of topic one. I want to remind you, about. Let me see here. I want to remind you about, how you're to deal with all this great amount of information is that I'm going to be bolding things in the commentary presentation. I'm going to be highlighting in yellow. I'm going to be showing you some golden keys, and those are the key areas, to take in to find out more about, to be able to understand what's going to be on the tests. All right. And what I also recommend is that go through the Blackboard and well, actually go to the course outline, so you'll find out where you can find assignments 2 to 5, and read them ahead of time, because as you're going through the participation activities, you'll be able to really get a sense of how to prepare for what's coming your way, okay, going forward. And what I'll leave you with as well is, if you have any questions, please, number one is read my introduction to the course on Blackboard, on the announcements, and my welcome statements. How I'd like you to communicate with me, please use my RDP email. It's, help me help you. It would be to your advantage, because most times I can clear up things right on the spot, instead of having come back to my home office and find an email on Blackboard that may have been there for 2 days. Okay, so that's the key piece. And then send me any kind of questions. Take a look at the discussion forum. If you want to post something on Ask Coach Gary, send me an email, tell me it's posted. I'll respond to it, or just send me an email with your question and I'll respond to it, and as soon as I possibly can. And if it's relevant, to help your colleagues, I will post the answer on the on Blackboard on announcements. And I really appreciate any kind of feedback about, how am I covering this course? Am I answering questions? Am I, is the information clear? I'm trying to keep this as organized as I possibly can, but there's just an inundation of information. And that's why the commentary PowerPoint presentations are so important, to be able to guide you through this particular course. Okay? And I think that's where we're going to leave it today. And next Thursday, I will be covering topics 2 and 3. And I'd recommend that you get on to your colleagues and create a group, no more than 3 people. You can go into Blackboard and self-enroll into that and start on your Learning Team Charter. If you have any questions about the Learning Team Charter, let me know. And oh, by the way, I have a video that I prepared to help you with assignment number 3, and I will put that video out as well to give you a sense of what I'm looking for in assignment number 3. I'm hoping assignment number 2 is straightforward, but again, the sooner you look at it and the questions you ask me about it, the quicker that I can respond, and the better that you can respond to doing what is required and getting good marks on those assignments. Okay, I'll leave it with that, and we'll go from there. Any questions at all? Okay. Okay, then I'm going to sign off, and we'll communicate with you later.